Hello everyone, welcome to this week's lap guide tutorial. This is for week 4 here at Motorsports. We'll be using the Mercedes for this hot lap, so let's have a look around. So with Motorsports, it's a lot of medium and high speed corners, so unfortunately it's a lot of like rolling into a corner, trying to carry the most speed in as possible without scrubbing and killing the tyres. It's quite tricky around here, especially because it's quite hot this week. So turn 1, start off the lap. Reference point into turn 1 I would say is like, you see there's like dirt patch here. It's kind of a good like reference of when you should be like turning in and starting to like come off the throttle. With T1 you can do it in two ways. You can like fully lift off, roll it into the corner and then get on the power, or you can go in and use a little bit of brake and try and like bring the car in a bit tighter. Kind of preference, whatever you want to do. Also can be car dependent. Like the Audi for instance, you could just fully lift off, coast it in. The Mercedes and the BMW we had to use a little bit of brake. But into T1, on this lap for inside I actually just fully lift off. You're aiming to be, you've just seen a distance here, like this darker patch of tarmac. You're aiming to like just have your left wheels in this, not too far out, because if you go too far out wide, you just never get the exit and you just scrub a lot of speed on the exit because you're holding too much steering lock. So it's very key, you want to be still aiming to get like nice and close to this curve on the inside here. I start picking the power up just before I actually get to the curb itself. As you can see, as I mentioned before, this like darker patch here. You've got this nice line here as a reference. This should be pretty central with your car. But the key thing here, just bring the power up, but don't jump on 100% straight away. Just like build it up and build it up. About 75-80% here. And if I go back a little bit, you see here where the corner just like straightens up here where this curb bit is here. At this point here, then put on 100% power, just before the end of the curb. This allows you then just to carry the exit speed here without having to put too much steering lock on. Last thing you want to do here is have like an extra 5-10 degree steering lock on. Really lean on the front tyres. Yes, you might get away with it for a few laps, but over a long run around here, you really destroy the fronts by doing that. Very key, you've got to look after that left front, especially because of turn 1. But on the exit, from here, run it all the way out, just up onto the curb. If you're hitting the curb here, you just got the power too early, and then you run the risk of getting the off track when you bounce out wide. But the main thing, just left wheels up on top of the curb like this. Then from here, bring it straight back over to the right hand side, aiming for like this like Marshall hut here, this like the blue hut. Bring it over to the right hand side. Very crucial here if I go to chase. Very crucial, like you actually get fully up to this white line. You've got to maximise the entry approach into this corner for turn 2. Because you can then just like slowly arc it in, bring it in tight, roll as much speed as possible, and then get a clean exit. So from here, over the crest, you lift as you get up on top of the crest. You'll see it now, I'll just trail brake this ever so slightly all the way in. Early turn in. Your reference now, you're already aiming, is like this white line here on the inside. Your main goal is to get very close to this or inside the white line, because it's like hooks the car up for free. If you're entering, you're in the middle of a track, there's like a massive bump here, and that just throws the car out wide, and you can just never get the exit, and you have to wait so long on power, and you lose like 2 tenths for free. Very key that you keep it tight to the inside here. Trail brake it in. I'm off the brake now, but if I go to chase, you'll see here, I'm actually aiming now to get my left wheels inside the white line and hook the car up, using this like bump and like the white line to rotate the car for you. Just be a bit careful with the bump itself, because if you like jump on the power on a bump too aggressively, it will just like snap the rear. Also on entry as well, if you jab the brake a little bit too much on entry, if your car starts over rotating or getting loose on entry, it's just because the input's a bit too harsh. So you'll be really smooth here. You see, full in the white line now. We bring in the power. As you go over the bump, 100% power once you're off the bump. And you see now, we actually can just follow, like, you can actually see where the rubber line is, for instance. You just kind of just go into the middle of the track and come back. If you're out here, you've got in too fast, too early on throttle, should I say. You've got in too fast. You're going out too far wide. And with the wind, what we had this week, if you're out offline, use understeered off the track. Also in the race, out here has a huge build-up of dirt. So just be a bit careful of this. Go from here, 100% throttle, arc it all the way in, aiming to get your left wheels again back across this white line. So I go to chase now. You see, we're nice and tight to this white line the entire way through. Right wheels central of this like darker patch of tarmac here. Not running the risk of going out too far wide, just because then if you go out here on this curb, the car can like bounce and hook you off the track, and it's really horrible. But from there, out to the curb, bring it straight back across to the left. From here, you want to kind of brake in a nice straight line. Very smooth on the brakes on the way in. So you'll bring it back over to the left hand side now for turn 3. You want to be nice and smooth on the braking into here. It's very easy to like over brake into the corner, and when you try and come off the brake, the car actually like skips on the rear over the bumps, especially like around this point here. It can get quite loose on the way in. You actually will see on this lap the car actually gets loose for me as well, so can happen quite easily. Key thing is, you want to be nice and smooth with the braking. No like aggressive impulse, just be nice and progressive on the way in. You see there the car gets loose. Down one more gear to third. Again, only real reference you have is similar to turn 1. You've got this like darker line here. Kind of keep that central. There's no point of running out this far wide to try and V the corner off, because you just never gain the time back what you lose on the way in by V'ing it off. Just key to get close to the white line here. Mid corner, still trail braking quite nicely. Biggest reference point for this now is once you get around the corner, towards the end of the curb, you got these like patches here, this point here, or towards the end of the curb, you'll be aiming for 100% throttle. So just build the power in. Very key to do this like holding of the throttle here. If you jump on the throttle too early here, the car will snap, and the problem is then it throws you out wide, and you then are kind of in a weird spot where you have to commit to it, because otherwise if you lift off you're going to lose all the time, but then you're running the risk of going out wide and actually going onto the grass out here. So from here, just be nice and patient on the throttle. We hold it on this like 75% for quite a while. Then once you get to the actual exit of the curb here, where it disappears, jump the power up a little bit more, and just bleed it into 100% and run it all the way out wide. If I go chase now, right up to the curb. Then from here, nice little run down to Moss Corner, out to the right, bring it over to the left. Just try and keep it nice and tight on the way in down here. Into the main braking zone of Moss. And what I would recommend is always try and brake in a straight line. It's very easy here to try and brake whilst you've got a little bit of steering lock on, and what happens then is the car just pushes massively on the way in. You never get the rotation at the midpoint which you need due to how tight this is. If you just try and go in too aggressive on the way in, holding the steering lock and trying to get the rotation, the car's going to push, and it's just really horrible, and you lose so much time on the exit. So you kind of got to really back it up on the way in. So now I get a nice straight line. I lift off and make sure the car's in a straight line before I brake. Heavy brake initially, up to about 70-80% brake. Brake a nice straight line, down 2 gears. Now tip it in. Very important not to go to the first curb too early. If you go to the first curb too early, the car, you end up just like bouncing off the inside of the curb, and it pushes you out wide. You kind of got to arc all the way in because you're aiming for the second curb here on the other side of the hill. Very smooth on the brakes. Down another gear to second. Over the crest. For the chase. Middle of the track. And you're actually trying to aim. You just see it over here. You got like the curb on the outside here. I go a few frames forward. In the Mercedes, you're actually aiming to get your left wheels next to or even on top of the curb, just to help the rotation. Some cars you can go in a bit tighter here and use like the inside here. It is kind of driver preference in this corner. There's no good or bad way of, if you're going a bit tighter, slow it down a bit more, absolutely fine. But doing this wider line, you do run the risk of actually getting the car loose on the exit. But in the Mercedes, you had to do it because you just have no low speed rotation. From here, roll in, tiny bit of brake, all the way in, fully on the lock here, like the most lock you want to be at. So on the brakes, trail brake in, off the brakes now. If I go to chase, coming away from the curb now, you're aiming to apex it at this point here, right at this curb. Very important, just be nice and progressive on the throttle here. You jump it up and hold it, and then 100%. If you try and get 100% now, you might think, oh, I can use this run off out here. Don't. The car will just bounce around, and because of that, you'll lose so much up the straight. So be nice and patient, hold the lock, 100%. You see there the car starts to fight a little bit on exit. Run it all the way out, just like this. Anything more than this, if you're out here on the power too early, you just force the car out too far wide. And because of that, you just never get the run down the straight. Because you've got to come off this, back onto the track. There's also a bump here as well, so Very, very easy to overdo it and lose time on the exit. Then we've got a nice run on the back straight. But keep it over to the right side here, like closest white line. No point driving over here on the left. So from now, bring it back over to the left hand side for the last sector. A reference point for this corner. It's quite tricky. Kind of, you can go in a bit more aggressive than you think, or you can back it up and like hook up the curb for the exit for the second part. Either way is absolutely fine. For me anyway, it's normally this second post here is kind of a nice little reference as your turning in point. So from here, tip it in, a little bit of brake, just trail brake it all the way in, aiming for this like first curb here on the right. At this point around here is where you want to do your downshift. So quite late into the corner. It's because if you pull the downshift like now straight away, you just slow the car down too much. And last thing you want to do here is be really, really tight and slow at the apex of this first curb. Because you need to actually almost like come away from this curb, arc it, and then angle it for the second curb here. If you're too tight here and slow, you get on the power, what happens then is the car just pushes too much. And then it just throws you offline and out of rhythm for this last sector. So the key thing is, trail brake it in, late downshift, so like I said, downshift just before you get to this curb. Be like half a car width away from the curb, middle of the track. Again, you've got like a little seam here you can follow. But again, we're still trail braking in. Now we see the second curb, we start bringing the power in. Very, very key, you just build it up. I build up to about 50-60% as I turn it into the corner. Very important now, I'm aiming to get my right wheels next to the white line. Once I'm into the corner, so now, 100% power. And what that does, it just hooks the car up, you can see. If I apply it in full speed. From here, it just rotates the car in for free. If you're on power and you're understeering wide, it's because you got the power too aggressive too early. You should be just nice and tight to this curb. And what you should do, as soon as you're off that curb, you're able to brake in a straight line. 20-30% brake, one downshift to third to get the rotation. Straight to the next corner. Key here to aim for the middle of the curb. If you're apexing about here or trying to get to a curb here, it's a bit too early, and again, same as the previous corner, you run the risk of running wide. So from here, trail brake it in, aim for the middle of the curb. Once you're actually at the curb itself, so I go chase now, you see, we're very, very close to the curb. Very important. Now to be nice and progressive on the power, 50%. Then once you're around the corner, build it up. Reference for this point is like your car should be like well in this like grey square here, I would say. And from here, you want to be aiming to get your car over here to the left hand side to where this little bit of like track is over here past the white line. So from here, bring it straight over. So it's important not to be too far wide here. It's very easy to be misled. Drive it in super deep here, and then you're in the middle of the track, and it's just super awful on the way in. So it's very important to bring it over to the left hand side here. Not 100% throttle till, well, ever really, just because it allows me to get the car back over to the left hand side. Aiming to now brake ever so slightly. Cars should just be about near the white line or crossing into it here. See here, my left wheels are just into the white line. With this, turning in, following this like again, this like darker patch of tarmac. Trail brake it in. On power pretty early because you want to be aiming for like the middle of the curb. So you see here, you aim for this part of the curb here. On throttle, pretty aggressive initial hit to about 90%, hold it, and then 100% on the exit. 100% should be once you get towards the end of this like darker tarmac patch here. And what that allows you then to have a nice clean exit onto the straight. If you're on throttle a little bit too early here, you do run the risk of the car just getting ever so slightly loose here, and you just run a little bit too wide. And that is a quick lap around Motorsport for this week.